Factors of comparative education. In this session, we are going to discuss some of the MCQ of on factors of comparative education. First MCQ of this session is which of the following is a geographical factor that influences comparative education? Option: pedagogical approaches, religious belief, population density, economic policies. Answer of this question is option C, that is population density. Next, in the context of geographical factors in India, which regions' educational practices are influenced by predominance of Tamil as the medium of instruction? Options: Uttar Pradesh, Delhi, Tamil Nadu, Gujarat. Answer of this question is option D, that is option C, that is Tamil Nadu. Next, how do geographical factors affect the availability of educational resources in rural areas? Options: increased access to technology, abundance of qualified teachers, limited access to schools, higher literacy rates. Answer of this question is option C, that is limited access to schools. Next, which of the following is an example of an economic factor that influences comparative education? Options: climate condition, government spending on education, religious traditions, social norms. Answer of this question is option B, that is government spending on education. Next, in the Indian context, what impact does poverty have on access to education? Options: equal access for all students, improve quality of education, limited access for many families, increased literacy rate in rural areas. Answer of this question is option C, that is limited access for many families. Next, how do economic factors influence the types of education and vocational training available to students from lower income families? Option of this question is they have more access to higher education, they have limited access to specialized vocational training, they have better career prospects, they receive more financial aid. Answer of this question is option B, that is they have limited access to specialized vocational training. Next, which cultural factor significantly influences the approach to education in India? Options: technological advancements, family and community values, government policies, economic development. Answer of this question is option B, that is family and community value. Next, what is the Guru Shishya tradition in Indian education? Options: a system of online learning, a tradition where teachers are seen as gurus and mentors, a method of group work and collaborative learning, a focus on vocational training. Answer of this question is option B, that is a tradition where teachers are seen as guides and mentors. Next, how does the concept of collectivism influence education in India? Options: emphasis on individual achievements, focus on technological advancement, prioritization of group work and collaborative learning, implementation of online systems. Answer of this question is option C, that is prioritization of group work and collaborative learning. Next, which philosophical concept emphasizes the more moral duty of individuals towards society in the Indian education system? Options: collectivism, dharma, industrialism, environmentalism. Answer of this question is option B, that is dharma. What does the concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam means in the context of Indian education? Options: emphasis on vocational training, the world is one family, focus on individualism, the importance of technological education. Answer of this question is option B, that is the world is one family. Next, How does the Guru Shishya tradition influence the teacher student relationship in Indian education? Options: it promotes online learning, it creates a distance and formal relationship, it emphasizes close and respectful relationship, it focuses on group projects and collaborative work. Answer of this question is option C, that is, it emphasizes close and respectful relationship. Next, which sociological factor significantly impacts sociological educational opportunities in India? Options: climate condition, caste system, technological advancement, government of policies. Answer of this question is option B, that is caste system. How does gender inequality affect education in India? Options: equal access to education for boys and girls. Girls face significant barrier to education. Improve quality of education for girls. Higher literacy rate for girls. Answer of this question is option B, that is girls face significant barriers to education. Next, what challenge do students from rural areas face in assessing education compared to their urban counterparts? Option: abundance of qualified teachers, better access to technology, limited resources and opportunities, higher literacy rates. Answer of this question is option C, that is limited resources and opportunities. Next, what is a significant challenge of linguistic diversity in Indian education? Option: development of a monolingual education system, consistent language of instruction, difficulties in language acquisition and cognitive development, lack of curriculum development. Answer of this question is option C, that is difficulties in language acquisition and cognitive development. Next, how does the use of multiple languages in education affect teacher training in India? Options: teachers only need to know one language. Teachers need proficiency in multiple languages. It simplifies curriculum development. It reduces the need for multilingual lingual education. Answer of this question is option B, that is teachers need proficiency in multiple languages. Next, what is one implication of the linguistic diversity in India's education system? Options: uniform language of instruction, easy implementation of monolingual education, challenges in curriculum development, lack of language diversity. Answer of this question is option C, that is challenges in curriculum development. Which factor in comparative education is most likely to be influenced by natural disasters? Options: economic factor, cultural factor, geographical factor, linguistic factor. Answer of this question is option C, that is geographical factor. In the context of comparative education, what does the term linguistic factor primarily refers to? Options: the financial resources available for education, the social norms and values shaping education, the role of curriculum in educational systems, the philosophical perspectives underlying education. Answer of this question is option C, that is the role of language in educational systems. Next, which factor would most likely include the study of poverty's impact on education? Options: geographical factor, economic factor, cultural factor, philosophical factor. Answer of this question is option B, that is economic factor. Next, what cultural factor in India emphasizes the importance of teachers as guides and mentors? Options: collectivism, Guru Shishya tradition, Vasudeva Kutumbakam, individualism. Answer of this question is option B, that is Guru Shishya tradition. Which factor examines how social hierarchy and inequalities impact educational access and outcomes? Options: economic factor, sociological factor, geographical factor, linguistic factor. Answer of this question is option B, that is sociological factor. Next, which philosophical concept in Indian education emphasizes moral duty and responsibility? Options: Dharma, Vasudeva Kutumbakam, collectivism, humanism. Answer of this question is option A, that is Dharma. Next, what sociological factor in India often lead significant disparities in educational outcomes between boys and girls? Economic factor, cultural factor, gender inequalities, linguistic factor. Answer of this question is option C, that is gender inequality. Next, the diversity of languages in India primarily affects which factor of comparative education? Option: economic factor, sociological factor, geographical factor, linguistic factor. Answer of this question is option D, that is linguistic factor. How does the concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam influence education in India? Options: it emphasizes individual success, it stresses the importance of technological education, it promotes the interconnectedness of all people and cultural respect, it limits the role of teachers in student development. Answer of this question is option C, that is it promotes the interconnectedness of all people and cultural respect. Next, in comparative education, what factor would include studying the impact of a country's economic development level on its educational system? Options: economic factor, cultural factor, geographical factor, sociological factor. Answer of this question is option A, that is economic factor. The impact of urbanization on educational access is primarily studied under which factor? Options: economic factor, geographical factor, sociological factor, linguistic factor. Answer of this question is option C, that is sociological factor. Next, which factor in comparative education examines the impact of traditions and social norms on educational systems? Options: economic factor, cultural factor, geographical factor, philosophical factor. Answer of this question is option B, that is cultural factor. Next, which philosophical factor in Indian education system promotes the idea of universal brotherhood? Option: Dharma, Guru Shishya tradition, Vasudeva Kutumbakam, individualism. Answer of this question is option C, that is Vasudeva Kutumbakam. Next, what does the humanisms factor in education emphasizes? Options: the economic development of a country, the political view of a nation, the full development of human personality, the natural condition of a region. Answer of this question is option C, that is the full development of human personality. Next, the concept of collectivism in education is best described as prioritizing what? Options: individual achievements, group needs over individual needs, financial resources for education, philosophical perspective on education. Answer of this question is option B, that is group needs over individual needs. Which factor examines the role of government expending spending on education system? Option: geographical factor, economic factor, cultural factor, philosophical factor. Answer of this question is option B, that is economic factor is the correct answer. The Guru Shishya tradition in Indian education is an example of which factor? Social factor, economic factor, sociological factor, cultural factor, linguistic factor. Answer of this question is option C, that is cultural factor. The disparity in educational resources between rural and urban areas is primarily a result of which factor? Economic factor, geographical factor, cultural factor, linguistic factor. Answer of this question is option A, that is economic factor. What does the three language formula in Indian education aim to address? Option: economic disparities in education, cultural diversity in education, linguistic diversity in education, philosophical perspectives in education. Answer of this question is option C, that is linguistic diversity in education. The emphasis on all-round development of people in Indian education is influenced by which factor? Option: economic factor, philosophical factor, cultural factor, linguistic factor. Answer of this question is option B, that is philosophical factor.